Meghan Markle's obnoxious hypocrisy has just been exposed as she tells Prince Harry, finally, get a job. Do you remember that old song? Get a haircut, get a job. I guess for Harry, it might be get a hair transplant and get a job. But first, you've got to laugh at this. In an interview filmed 10 years before she started selling her own £190 was never range, Meghan Markle branded expensive celebrity candles as obnoxious. Obnoxious. Of course, that was the year 2016 that she started dating Prince Harry. 10 years on, her critics pointed out that she is currently selling her own scented candle set for more than double the $100 price tag she dismissed as obnoxious. Yes, it's the $256 signature scent collection. But all of this is desperate, isn't it? And we know that what Meghan's doing is not out of love. It's not out of some type of desire to create a community. It is out of financial need. As Harry, Meghan's spare put it, when you have to roll out a full promotional campaign for your newest product, and that product is a box of matches, you've officially reached the bottom of the barrel. Not perfume, not skincare, not fashion, matches. At this rate, next week's big reveal will be a limited edition rubber band. And look, I'm telling you, the propaganda coming from Team Sussex, which is, of course, People magazine, the official propagandist, is increasingly desperate. I'm embarrassed about this. Look, Meghan Markle hiked in the podiatrist-approved sneakers shoppers say feel comfortable even after 20,000 steps. Royally Sage made the point Rachel is reduced to being an influencer. That is an embarrassing drop from being a working royal. Brittany from the Royal News Network joins me now. And look, Brittany, this is obnoxious. Of course, what she is doing was never is obnoxious. I mean, the product is tat. It arrives without wicks, for example. It stinks like soap. And she's selling it for an astronomical price that she previously admitted was obnoxious. But I guess for me, Brittany, the deeper story here is that it is because she's desperate, because there is a need to bring in money. I mean, imagine if you told 2020 Meghan Markle, oh, you're going to be having to punt out articles via People magazine about a pair of sneakers that you wore once on a walk in Australia. But all of this is a desperation that comes from the need to make money, which is something she is not doing.
Yes, Dan, 100%. Meghan and Harry, I think, are starting to get really desperate for money because, in my theory, actually Netflix tied a lot of the money that they gave Harry and Meghan into the As Ever stock. This is why she's not discounting it, which is why she keeps bundling it, sort of desperate to sell it for as high of retail value as possible, even though at this point, the products just simply aren't moving. And it's because Netflix said, okay, we're going to give you the money that's part of this lump deal, but a good chunk of it is going to go into developing your inventory. Well, Netflix did that. Now Meghan's stuck with the inventory that can't move, which means all their money that they were supposed to get for Netflix, or at least a good chunk of it, is tied up in her terrible products. And she is not good at marketing. She is not good at figuring out what actual consumers want. And so she's constantly stuck in this endless loop of failure. And she has no one to blame here but herself. If she had let a actual professional person run this company, she might be in a better spot. But at this point, I mean, as ever, it looks like it's pretty much dead already.
A shocking new claim. A viral social media debate. And yet another controversy involving Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. This time, royal commentators are discussing reports that Meghan Markle has come under fire over remarks and behavior that critics have labeled obnoxious, while separate speculation surrounding Prince Harry's future role has ignited fresh discussion online. Supporters say it's another example of the Sussexes being unfairly targeted. Critics argue the latest headlines reveal deeper problems facing the couple's public image. So what exactly happened? And why has this story suddenly exploded across royal media? Stay tuned. Few public figures generate as much attention as Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Years after stepping back from senior royal duties, nearly every move they make continues to dominate headlines. Whether it's a public appearance, a business venture, an interview, or even a social media discussion, the Sussexes remain at the center of intense public debate. And that's exactly what appears to be happening once again. The latest controversy revolves around criticism circulating in royal commentary circles and online discussions. Some commentators have accused Meghan of appearing disconnected from public sentiment, while others have criticized aspects of the Sussex brand and the way the couple presents itself. At the same time, discussion surrounding Prince Harry's post-royal identity has resurfaced. Questions about his future projects, professional direction, and public role have become recurring topics among both supporters and critics. As these conversations gained momentum, headlines quickly transformed a collection of opinions into a major royal controversy. And that's when the story began attracting widespread attention.
It is. And that's why, Brittany, we get to the new revelation that Meghan Markle wants Prince Harry to get a job. And what's interesting about this to me is that she could only go for so long, Brittany, with the, I support you doing the philanthropy and you just go and be a little fake royal and I'll be the breadwinner. But the problem is it hasn't worked. And so, of course, she puts the pressure on Harry.
She does. And nothing is working, Dan. Nothing is working on Meghan's end, on Harry's end. I mean, Harry tried to produce the Invictus Games documentary. That was actually their biggest failure of all for Netflix. I mean, there's just so many things that are just failure after failure. And I've said it a lot. Harry needs a real big boy job. He has been just meandering endlessly, doing nothing for quite a bit now. And he honestly is probably in some ways their biggest breadwinner because he's at least somewhat more likable than she is. But he is inept at all of this because she took him out of the one thing that he was actually good at, which was being a royal. He was relatively good at that. He's not good at being producer. He's not good at being an executive. He's not good at being a podcaster. He couldn't even create a podcast talking about hot chocolate. This guy is mostly, I hate to say it, kind of useless. And so she took him out of the one place where he was kind of useful. And now she's stuck with him. He's not a particularly bright fellow. And so he has no clue what to do. She was in Hollywood, had a minimal level of success before jumping into the royal family. So she never had the success either to back up her Hollywood chops. And so they're both a mess. Like there's no way to get anywhere. But yes, they both need to work. They both need real jobs. They have a huge, very expensive mansion to maintain huge bills. And honestly, I don't think the money is rolling in for them anymore. I think basically most of it's all gone. And they're probably, I would guess, sort of barely surviving at this point.
Because there were even questions last week, Brittany. I mean, Better Up did push back on it, but whether Harry was even in his $1 million gig with that HR company, because what has he done for them? And the thing is, what you can guarantee is that there will not be a 7-figure outlay for doing nothing. I mean, he might remain on the website, but he isn't putting the hours in. He's not bringing anything to these corporations.
And he can't, Dan. He just simply doesn't have the chops for it. He does not have the ability to bring anything in. He is essentially can be a spokesperson, and that's about it. I mean, the one benefit Better Up did get from Harry, you could say, is a connection with the Invictus Games. So I'm sure Harry's got some sort of backdoor deal and maybe he's getting a cut of that. I'm not sure. But this whole Better Up thing, I mean, he's basically there to be a figurehead and that's it. Like they don't really want anything from him. He can't really help. I mean, even when he gives a speech, he makes a fool of himself. He attempts to get into global politics. He makes an absolute fool of himself. And the thing is, right now, we've seen with the WHO using Harry, and I think members of Harry's team in Ukraine using Harry, that Harry is a useful idiot for those who need a guy who can say anything for them. And that's what Harry is at this point. He's basically going around and being a useful idiot for a paycheck. And that's, of course, a massive danger to the monarchy because Harry's not principled. He's just looking for the money, and so is Meghan. And so they'll do anything for it. They'll mask it in philanthropy, but really, all they want at the end of the day is a check.
Indeed. Indeed. Here is the Rob Shooter reporting, by the way, about exactly what Meghan Markle has delivered to Prince Harry. It is time to contribute more financially. Sources telling Naughty But Nice the growing concerns about maintaining the couple's high-profile California lifestyle have created tensions at home, with Meghan increasingly frustrated that she has become the family's primary breadwinner. Meghan finally told Harry he needs to step up financially, one insider reveals. She's driving the business deals, managing the brand and thinking about the future. She's tired of feeling like the only one focused on keeping the money flowing. Since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have built a life that comes with significant expenses, including private security, staff, luxury travel, and the upkeep of their sprawling Montecito estate. While Meghan has expanded her business portfolio through entertainment ventures and her lifestyle brand as ever, insiders say Harry has remained focused on charitable work and passion projects rather than major commercial opportunities. Harry still approaches life like a royal, says a source. He wants purpose-driven work, while Meghan is looking at the numbers and asking how everything gets paid for. According to insiders, Harry's once substantial inheritance is no longer the financial safety net many assume it to be. Meghan didn't sign up to carry the financial burden forever, says a source. She wants a partner who shares the responsibility and helps build the next chapter financially. Despite the tension, insiders insist the marriage remains strong. They love each other deeply, one source says. This isn't about divorce or separation. It's about Meghan pushing Harry to adopt to a world where they can't rely on royal status or inherited wealth forever. But the thing is, Brittany, this is all Meghan's fault. This is all Meghan's fault. Like, she knew what she was dealing with. She manipulated this guy to leave. She assured him that it was all going to be okay. And in fairness, in those first 2 years, Brittany, they did receive the big deal. So they relaxed and they thought that they could buy all of this. But Harry has no idea how to deal with money. And that is maybe one of the few things that you can forgive this moron for, Brittany, because he grew up not really having to worry about money. Royals don't really worry about money in a day-to-day manner in the same way that we do, because fundamentally their lives are paid for. They don't have to worry about paying the mortgage. They don't have to worry about paying the rent. They don't need to worry about having enough money on the credit card to top up the car with petrol. That is the privilege that comes with being a member of the monarchy, but as a result, they give up their life in return for public good. So Harry knows nothing about money. And Meghan has put him, Brittany, on this sort of emotional roller coaster, which is like, one moment she's saying, no, it hasn't worked. The commercial stuff hasn't worked, so don't worry. You go back to the charity stuff. And then that hasn't worked. And so now she's putting the pressure on again. I mean, he doesn't understand money, Brittany. He has never understood money. She should have known that.
She should have, Dan. I mean, this, again, you were so right. This whole fiasco is her fault. She is the one who wanted to leave. She is the one who concocted, I think, a whole bunch of things that pull on Harry's heartstrings to get him to agree to leave his family, leave his security net, leave his world, and adopt her own. And if a couple decides that together, then I think, of course, that's okay. But I really think at the end of the day, this was entirely a Meghan manipulation on Harry. And she can't complain now when he did what she wanted him to do. But as it turns out, I mean, the whole reason she was able to get married to him in the first place, in my personal opinion, is that he's a bit dense. He's not the smartest. He's not the sharpest. And he was easily manipulated by her. And that was part of her attraction to him, is that he was not the brightest bulb in the box. And she can't complain now that she did not marry the brightest bulb in the box. And as it turns out, he's not really good for anything in a lot of ways. Yes, he has this profile. Yes, he has a level of charisma. Yes, he has these charities, but he has no concept of the real world. And she didn't teach him. And he didn't really have a desire to know, because I think in his mind too, because this was her idea, I mean, he kind of thought it was his, but because this was her idea, her world, he relied on her heavily for this. And as it turns out, she can't do it either. And so they're both in this spot where they both created this mess together, but Meghan led it. And so Meghan has to deal with the burden of, hey, you wanted this ridiculously over the top lifestyle, and you need to be able to pay for it. And if you can't, that's on you, because you guys could still be living
because Brittany,
in Frogmore Cottage.
Like, he was happy even in the little the little granny flat at Kensington Palace, which, can I just say, is still one of the most lavish properties and addresses in the United Kingdom. Like for mere mortals, you'd need millions and millions. But it wasn't particularly posh, and he was happy there. So there's no way that they needed this 16-bedroom mansion in Montecito. No way. And she didn't need it either, but she's greedy. And she's also very arrogant. She thought that they were going to be much more successful than they were. Then, of course, Brittany, you get to what's coming next. And I found this particularly grim, but quite predictable. Now the Daily Mail saying that Meghan is waiting for Lily to turn 5 and that it's going to be the 5th birthday as the big moment to unveil her. And it's also grim, but PR and branding experts now telling the newspaper there has been a noticeable shift in Meghan's approach to featuring her children on public social media over the last year, adding it reinforces the idea that as ever is an extension of her life as a mother and a homemaker. Do you think this is likely?
I mean, I'm not totally sure, but Meghan will reveal her kids at one point in the optimum moment to get the biggest paycheck. I mean, we always knew this was coming. We always knew this was going to be the outcome. The whole claim of, oh, they're protecting their children's privacy. Honestly, I think Harry and Meghan have revealed more about their children in a lot of ways than the Waleses, and we've seen their children fully numerous times. But Meghan just is always after the paycheck here. And the reality is kids on social media do sell. But there is, of course, a backlash to that growing. People are not as engaged with mommy vloggers and these sorts of things because they see so much of it as manipulation. That moms, sometimes not all moms who vlog with their children, manipulate their children or manipulate headlines and these sorts of things to get attention because children do bring you a level of attention, and states are passing laws against this. And so Meghan is kind of approaching dangerous waters here. And her children, if she really wants them to be private, be private. They don't need to be on there. And if you can't sell your wares, Meghan Markle, I don't think Lily can either. But she's got to try anything. She's got to try anything. They're not making money. She needs, as ever, to make money for her because otherwise they're not really going to get all that they were promised in some ways from Netflix. And those products are probably close, at least some of them, maybe close to expiring within next couple months to a year. And that's got to be a big warning sign for her.
Meghan Markle's desperation at the moment, Brittany, to get positive publicity is so transparent. So the latest to be Markled and likely to face a backlash over it is Paula Abdul, who I think has been sort of browbeaten into giving this statement to People magazine, which we know is the preferred propagandist of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, over the fact that Meghan used her song Forever Your Girl in that anniversary post. This breathless article says Abdul shared exclusively with People how grateful she is for those who've listened to her track. I always say I never take anything in my career for granted. The amount of pinch me moments and tears that come from my eyes, it still exists every day. She goes on about the song and said that when she first saw that Meghan had used it, I pinched myself and I was like, this is awesome. Well, it's like I said, you never know. Little gems and moments can come in and just bless your life. She also reposted Meghan to her Instagram story saying, so sweet to hear Forever Your Girl over these beautiful memories. Wishing you both continued love, laughter, and a very happy anniversary. And my advice to someone like Paula Abdul would just be like, don't play into this PR game. There's no benefit for you doing that. The benefit is all for Meghan Markle.
I mean, Dan, to be honest, I'm not even sure if it's to the benefit of Meghan Markle either. It's just a song. She chose a particular song for a particular Instagram post. And while it's lovely, it's like nothing to get super excited about. But People magazine and publications like it, I think, are sort of desperate to get sort of any sort of headline. Like they pull the most ridiculous things out at this point because they're a dying industry. And so they got to make a mountain out of a molehill. And that's what I feel like this situation is here. And I'm sure for Paula, there was a level of flattery to it, but I'm sure a lot of famous people have used her song before. And she mentioned other things too, as well. So it's just one of those things where things have to be blown out of proportion because it's Meghan and she just needs that positive attention. She needs that buzz. But Meghan, of course, has always oversaturated the media landscape to such an extent that it actually turns people off. Best to just let things lie and just move on. But the needless and excessive pursuit of positive headlines always, I think, results in negative ones and negative feelings overall towards her.
Indeed, Brittany, also breaking over the weekend, this allegation of ex-Prince Andrew at Ascot was actually against a waitress, which does make the story, Brittany, I have to be honest, feel a little darker than what we were aware of last week. So this is new reporting from the Sunday Times that revealed the woman at the centre of allegations of inappropriate behaviour by Andrew Mountbatten Windsor at Royal Ascot was working as a waitress at the racing festival. The Sunday Times revealed last week that detectives are examining the alleged incident as part of a broader investigation into Andrew over the offence of misconduct in public office. Andrew is said to have behaved inappropriately towards the woman in 2002 when his mother, Queen Elizabeth, attended the meet with other senior royals, including now King Charles, during her Golden Jubilee year. Asked a series of questions about the alleged incident at Royal Ascot, a Thames Valley spokeswoman said, "We cannot go into specifics of our ongoing investigation, but we are following all reasonable lines of inquiry." Ascot Racecourse declined to comment. However, a source indicated that it will cooperate with the police if asked to do so. Now, Brittany, this is becoming incredibly difficult, but at the same time, of course it's dark, of course it's worrying, but for a waitress to prove that something like this went on in 2002 is going to be difficult unless complaints were made at the time, or unless there were witnesses, or I would argue unless there were multiple people who were impacted.
I do have to agree with you, Dan, there. It's so hard to prove an allegation that's so old at this point, especially if there is one that there's just really not a lot of corroboration for. And you got to think as well, unfortunately, when you put out a big net like this for stories, you're going to get some that are true. Not saying that this one is that, but some that are true, some that are false, and some that are just kind of difficult to prove. But it may go into a series of sort of broader situations regarding Andrew as people continue to look at his behavior. This all comes back to his behavior, his arrogance, his entitlement, and these sorts of things resulting in boorish behavior on multiple levels. Of course, we don't really know the details of what's being alleged here, so it's hard to kind of draw a strong conclusion. But I think Andrew, for so long, acted with impunity and was allowed to sort of do what he wanted to the detriment of the monarchy. And there was not a mechanism there to kind of try to manage him. And, 2 decades later, this is a result of questions of should the monarchy continue and these sorts of things. And so Andrew, in this situation, he continues to be a black mark on the royal family, and they have to figure out how to effectively manage the situation. And most importantly, how do you prevent it from happening in the future? Where is that? We don't know what checks and balances have been put into the monarchy since this whole thing with Andrew. And I think that's a really critical component, is how do you prevent this from happening again?
What makes this situation particularly interesting is that it touches on a challenge Harry and Meghan have faced for years: expectation. Many people still compare the couple to their former royal roles. Others judge them as celebrities. Others see them as entrepreneurs. The problem is that each audience expects something different. And when expectations collide, controversy often follows. Critics argue the Sussexes struggle to connect with the public. Supporters insist they face impossible standards that no public figure could satisfy. That divide continues fueling nearly every debate surrounding them. But here's where the story becomes even more significant. Because this isn't really about one headline. It's about reputation. Public image is one of the most valuable assets any high-profile figure can possess. For Harry and Meghan, reputation affects everything. Their partnerships, their projects, their influence, their ability to shape public conversations. That's why even relatively small controversies can quickly become major stories. Critics claim repeated negative headlines are damaging the Sussex brand. Supporters argue the couple remains among the most talked about public figures in the world. And both sides use stories like this as evidence for their position. What's fascinating is how polarizing Harry and Meghan remain. Some viewers see resilience. Others see missteps. Some see unfair criticism. Others see accountability. As a result, every news story instantly divides audiences. And because neither side is likely to change its mind, the debate keeps growing. That's one reason why Sussex-related headlines consistently generate such enormous engagement online. Meanwhile, the wider royal family continues moving forward. King Charles III remains focused on the monarchy's future. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, continue representing the institution's next generation. And Harry and Meghan remain outside the formal royal structure while continuing to attract global attention. That contrast ensures comparisons will continue. And comparisons often create headlines. Perhaps the most revealing part of this controversy isn't the criticism itself. It's how quickly it spread. Because in today's media environment, perception can become reality almost overnight. And for Harry and Meghan, perception remains one of the biggest challenges they face. Every controversy becomes part of a larger narrative. Every headline adds to an ongoing story. And every debate shapes public opinion. At its core, this story isn't just about one criticism or one viral moment. It's about image, expectations, and the difficulty of maintaining public trust under constant scrutiny. For Harry and Meghan, that challenge continues long after leaving royal life behind. If you enjoy royal news, palace drama, and in-depth analysis of the biggest stories involving Harry, Meghan, William, Catherine, and the royal family, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next royal headline could be even more explosive than this one.